Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line, as she has done many times before, it is Alicia Dennis from People Magazine Investigates. Alicia, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. You're one of my favorite interviews to do. I look forward to
Oh,
talking to you
stop it.
every time, and when you come on, all we talk about is the darkest stuff imaginable.
I know, it's really true. I know, we really do.
So,
That's kind of the deal.
all right, so more darkness coming everybody's way, and
Yeah.
for the fans of true crime, coming up this weekend, People Magazine Investigates Surviving a Serial Killer is coming out. This is six episodes, correct?
That's right. That's right.
And
It's
tell
six
us about the darkness that is People Magazine
Yeah.
Investigates.
Well, this is a spinoff of our People Magazine Investigates series. We're doing just I Survived the Serial Killer. So these 6 episodes will be focusing on survivor stories, people that actually were in the center of these cases who somehow survived being kidnapped, attacked by a serial killer. They share their stories. In many of these episodes, they go back to the places that the crime occurred.
Oof.
Some of them sit in that place and do the interviews there. And as dark as this is, it's really interesting that there is this level of inspiration and hope in these stories because these women are talking about how they are taking kind of power back of this story and sharing what happened to them in their own words and through their own perspective in the hopes that they're going to help someone else, that they're going to maybe prevent somebody from becoming a victim, and then maybe that they can help inform law enforcement who are investigating these kinds of cases to understand the intricacies of what happens when a serial killer shows up.
Alicia, is there any sort of like common thread with this type stuff that people should be aware of? I mean, like you said, one part is, these people telling their stories and regaining that power, but there can also be almost an educational purpose to this. It's like, man, watch out for this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's hard to say because so many of these cases are so different.
Okay.
Serial killers, you have the ones who are charismatic and charming, and they're just friendly, and they're almost the people who they seem like the neighbor next door that you would trust to watch your house and pick up your mail and feed your cat.
Yeah.
And the next thing we've talked to some of these survivors who say, he was just friendly and happy and nice. And then all of a sudden, it just in a split second, there would almost be like a switch happened and turned off, and
Wow.
his face went blank and his eyes became like a shark, like empty and dark, and a monster just showed up all of a sudden. And we do see that happen more than once in some of these cases of serial killers that lure people into their horrible kind of twisted plan. But they're so different. I just
Okay.
can't tell you that there's like something to look out for
Yeah, yeah,
necessarily.
yeah.
There are some people that that people would get kind of a feeling of, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. I'm feeling a little bit creeped out, but I'm
Yeah.
going to not pay attention to that. And not that you should, judge people before you know them, but maybe you should listen to your instincts when you can. And
Boy, you
be
hear that a
safe in
lot.
some situations.
Like that
Yeah.
first impression, that first vibe you get from someone. Like you hear so many people talk about, man, trust your gut on this.
Yeah, you do.
Uh,
And like with our opening episode, it's really weird. It's about the Rodney Alcala case, which a lot of people will know as the dating game killer. And this guy was so charming that, he managed to charm a bunch of TV producers back in the infancy of, reality TV, and got on this show where he was one of 3 bachelors trying to win a date with a woman who was behind the screen, and they would ask questions like, if I were to pick bachelor number 1, where would you take me on our date? I don't know if you remember this
yeah.
show. Late 60s, early 70s. I guess there's, stuff out there on YouTube where you can see moments of it. But he not only got on the show, he won the date.
Ugh,
Like, he was that charming.
that's crazy. Alicia Dennis
Crazy.
from People Magazine Investigates Surviving a Serial Killer coming out this weekend. And then every Sunday thereafter on Investigation Discover. How did you guys choose these stories this time? I always think that's a kind of a fascinating part of the conversation because there's so many out there, but you have to narrow it down to these 6 stories. What was it about these 6 stories?
What happened was, because we're focusing so much on the survivors here, and we try to do that within our other series, looking at the victims' families and, how law enforcement cracks some of these cases. And when we talk to these survivors and asking them, is this something you're ready to do? Are you ready to answer these? Is this something you want to do? And this is really kind of difficult because not only are you going to be reliving this horrible, horrible thing, but we're asking, the hard questions and is this something you think you're up for? And so that kind of informed some of the cases that we were doing to make sure, because this is a national platform, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be in People Magazine. You're going to be on people.com. You're going to be on Investigation Discovery, their website. You're going to be in this show. And then now this is on Max, which used to be HBO Max. It's Max.
Yeah.
So you can go watch it there. So there's millions of people that are going to see this. Are you ready? And I think that we were able to pick cases where those victims not only were ready, but they really wanted to. And that really helped us narrow it down.
Have you ever had someone in one of these stories that thinks they're ready and then they're clearly not in the middle of it? And you don't have to name names or anything like that, but has that come up?
Yeah, it's happened. And what we try to do is, give them space and walk away and then see, is this something that you want to come back to, or are we done? And if it turns out that you're done, then you try to find someone else to be able to tell the story, because it's really important to us. We are not going to push somebody, the victims' families and the victims themselves. We want people to be able to feel that they are telling their story without being pressured by us to do it. That's not what we're wanting. So we have had that before, and it's heartbreaking, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine people being willing to do this at all. I'm always surprised by their strength and their, willingness to do it. I just can't even imagine how hard it's got to be.
Alicia Dennis from People Magazine investigates Surviving a Serial Killer. Premieres this Sunday on Investigation Discover. Of these 6 stories that you guys are featuring this season, is there one that really stands out to you that really gave you the creeps? And not to say all of them in their own way wouldn't do that, but does one stick out to you?
They all, of course, they're all.
When I say it, you know what I'm saying.
But I do know what you're saying. In the very first episode, we have a survivor, Morgan Rowan, who she survived an attack by Rodney Alcala, not once but twice.
Wow,
and
twice?
Twice. He very rarely do serial killers target people that are within their circles. Usually it's somebody random who police won't be able to connect to them. But in this situation, it was somebody that was connected to friends of his and that kind of thing. So she survived twice. And then on top of that, within this episode, there's a situation where a stranger notices that a little 8-year-old girl is getting into a car with someone, and he thinks that it looks weird.
Yeah.
He just doesn't, it just feels weird to him. And so he calls the police while following this car. And the police coming to the apartment where this little girl ended up saved her life. And when she grows up, she's imperative to putting Rodney Alcala away, because she comes and testifies against him. And she and Morgan Rowan have connected and become support systems for each other. So it's mind-blowing. They're stories that you've never heard before through the lens of the people that really experience them. And so there's a lot that's happening in that episode that's hard to look away from.
Alicia
Dennis, they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Again, and it wasn't to, make it seem like you don't think this stuff is creepy, but you deal with this all the time. Some of it has to really hit a nerve at some point.
It really does. And I think that what pulls the whole team through, because, the producers and the field producers who are out there and really walking in the middle of these crime scenes with these victims, like they're right there with them. I think it's the victims themselves, the survivors themselves, that bring you the reason that we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
They're the hope and kind of the inspiration and their strength. And you realize that if we weren't digging into the darkness, we wouldn't be able to share their stories. And so it makes the creepiness worth it, if that makes sense.
No, it does. There's a good moment to be found in about it, silver lining, I guess,
Right,
you know.
right,
At least,
right,
and that's not to take away what the situation that these people have gone through. It's just you got to find good in stuff at some point, and if that's
right.
the healing
Exactly.
process, then that's the good. Alicia Dennis from People Magazine investigates on the line, surviving a serial killer, coming out this weekend, and then every Sunday thereafter for 6 episodes. Alicia, I know you're busy with stuff. What else do you have going on? What's kind of next for you?
Oh, wow. We are actually filming our next season of People Magazine Investigates. So we're going to have like a bunch of other episodes coming up for you after we get that going.
More
So,
darkness.
yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it for you. If you ever feel like you're running low,
No.
don't despair, because we'll be there for you.
Alicia, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Like I said, you're one of my favorite people to interview because you're fun in a dark way, if that makes sense.
You know what? I'm going to use that in my life. I've never had anyone say that.
That
So yes, fun in a dark way.
that should be
Thank
your
you.
business card. Alicia Dennis, editorial
Let
director
me
for
update that
People,
right now.
fun in a dark way. We'll get all the links up at the website. Good luck with the series, and next one you've got, make sure you hit me up, okay?
I definitely will. Thank you so much for having me.